Hey there everybody, it's Mecha Draco coming to you with another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the two-gender issue. Now specifically what we're referring to when it comes to two genders is whether or not two genders is referred to by the biological sense or if it's a societary norm. Now to start off with, I am going to just say that I believe that genders are classified by our biological sex. That is my opinion. I just wanted to clarify that to begin with. Now, the reason why I see this is because of the fact that when I look at an individual, I see their biological characteristics. Do they look like a male? Do they look like a female? It's just the easiest way to do it. It's the least harmful way to do it. It's the easiest way to do it, and it doesn't cause like any problem. There's no maliciousness behind it. There's no anything. If I call you a he and you're a he because you look like a he because you're a male, then so on. Then let it be. Now, what I'm going to say first off is that my opinion is that genders are classified by biology. The reason why I say that is because that's what I classify them as. Now, I don't necessarily think that that's what everybody believes, but it is what I believe. When I look at someone and I see them as a physical characteristics of being female or male, I'm going to use those pronouns, and that's, in my opinion, a biological effect. I mean, what you look like is what you look like because of your biological sex. Now, if you happen to just look like a female and you aren't, and you're actually male, then good job. You pass. You know what I mean? So more than likely, I will probably be calling you the pronouns you want to be called. So no harm, no foul. So one of the issues that I find that comes up with all of this is that nobody can come up with an idea as to how many genders there are. What do we actually do about the multiple genders? Do we literally just go around constantly asking every single person, what's your gender? Assumption is just a part of society, and it's just going to be one of those natural things. And the ability to naturally assume someone's gender classification is going to be completely gotten rid of out of society if we suddenly just say that, oh, well, it's whatever you decide you want to be that day. And then it's worse because individuals start to claim that it's a violence towards transgenders or towards individuals along those particular lines. And that just causes even more issue because nobody wants to be told that they're being violent when they're not being violent. I think part of the issue, of course, is that most individuals use improper language. I think that in a lot of cases, these situations come up because of improper use of language. For example, the use of the word violence when it comes to, not using someone's gender, which we all know is not true. Is it disrespect? Possibly. I could argue that. I could certainly see disrespect being an option as to when you don't actually use someone else's pronouns because that's what they would prefer, then maybe it's just disrespect, not violence. And disrespect's not violent. The other issue, of course, comes with the forced idea of genders. And let's be honest here, nobody wants to be forced to say anything. Then the issue I find with that is that, for one, they try to argue that, we're only going to force you to say it after we told you what it is. And that you misusing my pronouns after I've told you what my pronouns are is the act of violence. Not the, I'm going to mispronounce you because of the fact that I've never met you before. Something like that. However, of course, they push this whole concept that you're supposed to ask what people's pronouns are. And no offense to anybody else who is along these particular lines, but I'm not going to walk up to somebody and go, what are your pronouns? To me, that's rude. Like, that actually almost feels rude. Now, I come from the South. So we'll have a whole different sense of like politeness and other things like that around here. And the fact is that that kind of thing, like going up to somebody and going like, what's your pronouns? That's actually rude around here. If you were to do something like that, that would actually probably put a lot of people back, and they'd probably be like, really? Because then they'd probably be insulted. Because then you're like, what, you don't know? You know what I mean? Something along those particular lines. Now, with that being said, I also hear other individuals who immediately say, oh, well, my name is blah, I go by blah, 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 pronoun, whatever, whatever. Most of them being they, them. Which to me just seems like they're just trying to go against the grain. It's like, oh, well, you know, I don't really give a crap about any of this, but I'm just going to call myself they and them because multiple different pronouns and all the other ones sound stupid to me. You know what I mean? So, when it comes to all of this, it kind of classifies it. It comes down to, what do we do about all of it? You know, do we just like assume that there aren't going to be any other genders and that we can't actually classify all these other individuals as genders? And do we classify them just purely as biological? And what are we going to accept? You know, what is everybody in society going to be able to actually accept? I mean, obviously society itself is not going to be able, just simply can't function with the idea of, oh, everyone's just got their own identity. Everyone can just identify as whatever they want at that particular on that particular day, and we just have to accept it. That's not going to happen. It can't happen. It's just it's a societary impossibility because of the fact that it's too grand of a scale of a request by a very small minority of the society to just expect from the rest of it. And besides that, it's just the fact that it's a huge request. Like, it's a gigantic request. You're asking all of us to just go from suddenly saying he and she to sometimes saying they and them and everything like that in reference to other people, to suddenly saying zer, zim, and z, zay, you know, all these other crap like that. You know, it's too much. And not even that, it's whatever somebody else decides they want to make up that day. If somebody just wants to make up their pronouns that day, like just go, I'm going to go by Gerb today, then you have to do it. And that's what I mean, is that the language, when it comes to like saying it's violent and making it criminal, is the problem. And that would almost become like totalitarian. And that's a concern. And like I said, it's too big of a demand on all of society. So where do we go to where it can be acceptable to society as a norm, as well as to them? And to be honest with you, I actually think I have a simple solution to this. I've actually commented on this once before in a comment in another video. But my opinion is that I think that we should just make they and them, they, them, and their, like, the other pronoun. I mean, if everyone's gonna, if you can't accept there is two genders, there's two pronouns to be used, the he and she pronouns, then accept that they and them is another pronoun. However, you have to still be able to expect us to go, is that a they? You know what I mean? You have to be able to actually, you know, anticipate that. You know, have to be able to, like, somehow show it on your end as to whether or not you're a they and a them. You know, create a norm for they and them so that we can actually identify you in that way. Because that's the biggest issue. It's a visual thing in the first place. That's why it all occurs in the first place, as a visual thing. So we have to have some kind of visual cue that lets us know what it is we're looking at. Are we looking at a he? Are we looking at a she? Are we looking at a them? So on and so forth. The reason why I say this primarily is because, for one, it would keep things simple. For the most part, I can look at, say, a transgender individual, and I can probably assume whether or not they are a they or a them. You know, a they, them, instead of a he or a she. I mean, if it looks like it's a he, or it looks like it's a she, maybe, let's say, but it looks like it's dressing like a he and trying to really push forward for the he look, then I could probably go them and just leave it at that. Because that's probably what they want to go by, is they, them pronouns. That's a societary norm that I think most people could probably, for the most part, get used to. The other thing that this would do is it would actually give a set pronoun for the other side to actually use. It would give them something, and it would actually push us forward in with all of this issue. It wouldn't actually no longer be an issue anymore because there wouldn't be two genders anymore. It would be three, and we will just say that it's a they, he, they. I guess it would be they, he, and she is what it would be for the genders. And then for sex, though, we can all just go back to saying, okay, there's only two biological sexes, male and female. Intersex is a example of why the standard exists in the first place, because it's an abnormality. I mean, that's in reality why intersex exists in the first place. I mean, yes, it does clarify and show that, yes, we do in fact have multiple sexes because of the fact that intersex individuals exist, but they are just a clarification of the standard because of the fact that the only reason why the standard exists is because of the fact that abnormalities exist. I mean, in reality, because if we see that the abnormality exists, we can see that the standard exists. We can see where the standards are because they're the majority, whereas the very small minority, extremely small minority, which would be intersex, is what we would consider a mutation. I mean, let's be honest here. I don't want to be using language that might offend, but mutation seems like the most effective word in this case. I mean, an albino is a mutation. Someone with different problems like the bone disease that just makes it so that their bones are brittle as hell. That's a mutation. That stuff exists. Those mutations exist. We can't just throw all of society into chaos because of a small, tiny minority that might feel offended. And that's not even like they will. It's a might feel offended. Because we don't even know. Like, I mean, have we even talked to anybody who's intersex about any of this crap? I mean, there's such a small population. How do we even know what they feel on this situation, about all of this? I mean, it seems to me like it's just a bunch of individuals who are just claiming that this is a problem and that this is some kind of an issue, but they just don't want to fit societary norms because reasons. Like, they don't even seem to come up with good reasons as to why they don't feel like male or don't feel like female or whatever. Anyways, before I get too much into a rant, because I'm already pretty far into there, let me just basically end it by saying that I feel like the problem comes mostly from the fact that we don't understand the argument. The actual argument for two genders or more than two genders is too broad of a request. It's too broad of an issue. Similar to how a lot of the issues that SJWs or other individuals like that try to claim as issues is that they try to blame everything on everyone else, on all of society. Or more in this particular case, I would say with two genders, is that they just want to, everybody is allowed to do and claim their own gender at any time, on any day, at whatever. And if you say something else, which in my situation, I would say that they don't actually think that it should be criminalized, but they say, oh, it's considered violence if you do, which is a criminal act. Don't use that language, and maybe we wouldn't have so much of a problem. Like, if you were to say disrespect, then maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But when you constantly scream out the words violence, that makes us think that you're saying that it's a crime, and that's not crime. That's not a crime. To misgender someone is not a crime, and it should never be a crime. If it is, then we live in a horrible place. And the issue primarily, I think, falls that it's just too broad of a request. You're asking for all of humanity to basically just only bow down to you. I mean, that's what you're effectively asking for, because we're not doing what you want us to do. But anyways, I am going to go ahead and leave the video there. If you guys did enjoy this video, you guys know the drill by now. Go on and hit that like button if you liked it. If you really liked it, go on and hit that share button. And of course, if you loved it, go on and hit that subscribe button. And of course, as always, guys, good luck out there. And don't forget to have fun.